right, hello and welcome back. So today we are going to be talking about, it's course 5 of the Google Analytics Certification Program. And Albert, you're going to be walking us step by step through it. So what's your first take? How was it?
So it's good. I think the rating was a little lower than the others. It's like a 4.6, which, is kind of amusing to see how those average ratings come out. It's a lot more dense. It is, super information dense. I kind of oversold it's wall-to-wall SQL. It's really not. As I reviewed it to get ready for this broadcast, there is still a ton of spreadsheet action in lesson 5. And so, kind of between Google Sheets and Excel, a bit heavier on the Excel this time, which can get a bit tricky because, it's a Google course. They're trying to kind of pimp Google Sheets,
Right.
but the syntax is different for, functions are different, buttonology is a little different. So there are some similarities and there's some differences, but there's no fluff here. This one is, I think I put in my notes, kind of all killer, no filler. I don't think the kids say that anymore, but it's
The kids
I have a
these
teenage
days.
son, so I'm constantly annoying them by being like, "Hey, that's what the kids say." But yeah, it really is like just wall-to-wall useful information between the spreadsheets and the SQL that, working with relational databases.
Okay, awesome. So let's just add in your screen and we can go through this.
Yes, we can add in Ayana. Let me try this again. I don't know. I don't think I enabled sound. Can you hear it?
No.
Okay.
Can you hear?
That's probably for the best. I do in my ear, but all
Okay.
good. So instructor for this course is Ayana. She is that they're all just different in their own special way. Ayana is precise. And she, you don't kind of get the jokes that Sally had in lesson 4. She does inject a little bit of humor and some kind of personality in there, but she's perfect for this course because her delivery is just precise. And so there's a ton of very specific verbiage and terminology that has to be expressed here. And you really have to be precise. I mean, spreadsheets, they're not forgiving. If you screw up your syntax, you're toast. And you're going to spend ungodly amounts of time going back to figure it out. SQL, more forgiving than a programming language. So if you screw up your syntax in Python or R, you're screwed. But SQL's a little more forgiving, but still, it's syntax. So if you screw it up, you're gonna waste hours of your life going back and fixing it.
So we've got some new unique syntax here. So what is select yo from ABS?
I don't think, unless Abe has invented his own SQL server, I don't think select yo is going to yield much for you.
Select yo from greetings.
Yeah. Well, maybe
is what
yo
the kids
is
are
the
saying
column.
these days.
Yeah. Yo is the column in the database. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. What's up, Abe? Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, I think he's got to somehow multiply that by 3 so that it's yo. But anyway, so the just some kind of overall impressions of the course in general. I cannot stress, you're going to get some options this time. Please don't treat them as options. There is optional content. There's no entire week of resume building or LinkedIn or, some kind of side task. Like I said, this is wall-to-wall tech information, but there are optional things involved that you need these reps. And trust me, if you're taking this course and you're getting value out of it, you need the reps. So what I'm talking about with optional, there are some optional exercises. Please don't treat them as optional. Do them. You need extra reps. And then the biggest thing that I recommend for this course is they give you the option and they spell out, hey, if you want to do the exercises along with Ayana as she's demonstrating them on the videos, here's how you do it. Download this database, follow along in BigQuery or Google Sheets or Excel. Do it. The extra reps will pay huge dividends, and you will find yourself much more facile in these platforms at the end of the course if you go through the demonstrations that are involved in the videos. So take that option. Don't treat it as optional. Go through it, learn everything, and get as many reps as you can. Another recommendation is if you have the opportunity to use 2 monitors or even 2 computers, I highly recommend that. I recommend having 1 monitor for the videos or the readings. Get your reps in for sure. Or is it for shizzle? I don't know. What do the kids say? But if you have 1 monitor for just for the videos and the other monitor where you're doing your work, so you have BigQuery, Google Sheets, or Excel pulled up, and you're doing the reps, that is optimal. 2 computers, even better, because then they're not interfering with each other and you're not kind of swiping those windows back and forth. I will warn you that probably about half of the quizzes involved in this section are actually prac apps. And generally what you're going to come down to, again, I won't put you through, I may show you through one of them, but it kind of feels like dirty pool to show you guys the quizzes. When you go through a prac app, you're going to pull up BigQuery or Excel, and you're going to go through an exercise. And at the end of the exercise, there's going to be a check on learning. And it's going to be just a quick, hey, what was this data point? And if you've done the exercise properly, you should be able to find that data point fairly easily. And then after that multiple choice question, there's going to be a short writing, usually 2 or 3 sentences, your impressions, what did you learn, that sort of thing. Do all the writings. There's not a ton of big writings involved in this course. It's mostly just in those mini quizzes, if you will. And with that, let's kick it off. And I apologize for the coughs. I've still got some residual COVID going on, but I will try and keep it to a minimum. I loaded up with cough syrup and whatnot. Okay. So Ayana with her precise delivery. Let's get organized. So I will give you one quick gripe about this course, and it pops up right here. They give you this 4-step process for analyzing data. And supposedly this 4-step process is nested within the 6-step data analysis process, which, if that's confusing, don't feel bad. It was confusing for me too. They kind of touch upon it here in the intro section, and then they almost never talk about it again. It also does not jibe with the weeks involved after the first 2. So the 4-step process, I almost hesitate to give it to you because it's, like I said, it's disregarded fairly quickly, is organize data, format and adjust data, get input from others, and transform data. There's a lot of overlap between that and the 6-step process. And then to me, I mean, just looking at it logically, get input from others. That seems kind of like a made up step. And it also seems like it's not necessarily something that's required all the time in the data analysis process. It almost implies that, hey, can I not do data analysis by myself? Can I not complete all 6 steps or all 4 steps or what have you by myself and go straight through from data collection, asking questions, through to the presentation and the decision process? I absolutely can. So yeah, not really sure why. I wouldn't spend a lot of time on this other than the fact that it's asked about repeatedly in quizzes and the first weekly challenge. But yeah, I didn't know why they felt the need to put another, sorry, here it is in the second section, data analysis basics. So the data analysis process, not to be confused with the other data analysis process. Minor gripe, maybe that's why they got a bit of a ding on the score. So you're going through the initial part, organize data for analysis. Again, this is talking about pulling data into your platforms. So getting it into the spreadsheets. They start talking about sorting and filtering. Tremendously useful skills. They do go about it in kind of a very structured and almost excessively formal way. There are ways to sort and filter in Excel and in Google Sheets just with hotkeys, and just with kind of point and click with your mouse. And they go through very sort of structured, overly formal ways to do it that don't seem like the most efficient way to sort and filter. I get the feeling like they really wanted you to see inside the black box and understand all of the, kind of like when you first learn calculus, you have to learn the hard way to do it before you learn the easy way. So anyway, that was, again, a minor gripe, but there are easier ways to sort and filter, which they do get into. But yeah, just seemed like they kind of spent a bit too much time on that. Again, optional. Don't treat it as optional. Upload the movie data set, and then you can go through and do the video exercises along with Iana. So this, they start going through the initial portions of SQL. So you're going to get through, like the shirt says, select from where. The super basic stuff. It's a bit of a rehash from lesson 4 where they started touching on SQL, but it's a good refresher. Then they go back, and here it is, the sort function. Not really sure why you need to use sort as a function. You can just kind of point and click, or go into the data tab in Excel and sort all of your headers and then go through it. It's an overly formal process. They go over it in some detail right here in this section. And then they go over how to do very similar procedures in SQL. Okay, so you got select from, they start delving into order by. Not sure if they get into group by here, but they go into ascending and descending sorts. So basically the same thing that they just covered in Sheets and Excel, they're going to go over it in SQL for you. And then you through to your weekly challenge, and that is week 1. One other thing to point out about the kind of overall structure, I didn't hit on it because I didn't go to the course tab with you, but weeks 1, 2, and 3, they estimate at about 4 or 5 hours. Week 4 is 10 hours. And there is a good reason for that, and you'll see it once we get there. Week 4 is a bear. And there's more work and learning to be done there than probably in like the entire first lesson or 2. So that's where a ton of your learning is going to be done. So I'll definitely spend the extra time on that lesson.
Awesome. So how do you feel about it?
The first week it's a great intro. It kind of pulls you back from lesson 4 and launches you forward into some more kind of intermediate concepts. You're done just kind of getting your data and admiring your data and cleaning your data, which, as you remember, was the 3 weeks ago before I got the plague, was the emphasis of lesson 4. But yeah, it's a good intro. I mean, you're getting into analysis, as the title says.
Awesome. So something that I wanted to circle back around that is kind of a thread we dropped is, what are the pros and cons of Excel versus Google Sheets in your opinion?
So I am still kind of just getting into Google Sheets. It seems very intuitive, which, Excel's pretty intuitive as well. My biggest beef with Excel is the advanced functions kind of get very button heavy and complicated. and the visualization is just, I mean, I'm old enough to have gone through probably 2 or 3 different big updates of Excel, and they just have never fixed the visualization part to where it's at all intuitive. Yeah, it's just Excel just sucks for vizzes. You can do it, but it's not. I mean, it's like the anti-Tableau. Tableau is just a monkey could figure it out. I mean, if you drag something left to right, if you kind of, if you drop it into the color thing, you can play with the colors. If you drop it into the label thing, you can play with the labels. I mean, what could be easier? Very little kind of advanced buttonology required to get good in Tableau with dealing with creating visualizations. I mean, you can make something pretty with like an hour class tops,
Right.
Or you can just kind of figure it out through discovery learning. Excel is not that way. To try and make visualizations in Excel is it's a grind, and it's just I don't know why they've never been able to fix it. I don't know if it's a priority for them, but Sheets is much better. Sheets is not quite as intuitive as a BI platform, but it's super easy to make nice looking vizzes.
Wait, okay, I'm going to push back on you, and I think Abe's kind of hitting on this a little bit. So your argument is that Excel and Sheets, so Sheets beats out Excel in terms of like being able to visualize data.
Yeah, and being more intuitive on how to create it. It's just one click, and you're good. And then it's easy to tweak out. Excel, you can come up with a histogram with a couple of button clicks, but then it's like if you want to play with the axes, if you want to change the colors, if you want to, any kind of edits on it, it's a freaking nightmare. And I don't get it. I don't know why they can't fix that.
Wait, so are you talking about building out pivot charts?
No, I'm just talking about like visualizations, graphs, pie charts, stuff like that.
Here, it's actually, I mean, here, I'll walk you through how to build out a pivot chart. This is kind of something I show my students almost like the first day of challenge is like visualize this data in Excel. Mm-hmm. I mean, inserting a pivot chart is actually pretty easy and intuitive. So if we come over here, it's what I tell my students is that the pivot chart is the kernel or the foundation of what Power BI and Tableau are built off of. So you just select the data, insert it, and then you can come in here. And so is this what you're talking about here? Like it's kind of less intuitive, but I mean, within this interface here, like we can change the aggregation. So just come here, click on so we can do average across these, and you can start customizing it. Yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so you're saying like customizing this right here?
Yep.
So yeah, you're right.
You can make a chart with a click or two,
mm-hmm.
But when you look over, first of all, it's just not nearly as good as a BI platform at kind of figuring out what you want. So you look over and your x-axis, your data goes from 1 to 1,000. Your x-axis, for some ungodly reason, goes to 2,000. So your stuff's all kind of askew. To adjust that axis is difficult.
Really? Hold on. Click on it. So just right click on it, and then you can.
If you want to change bins on a histogram, best of luck.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, just very simple stuff that you'd think they could. And again, it's not a visualization platform. It's a spreadsheet platform. I get it, but Sheets does it better and easier.
Okay, fair point.
That's my initial blush. Just having played with Sheets as much as this course deals with it.
Okay. Also, I wanted to pull up this spreadsheet so we can actually apply some of the things that you're learning in real time. But we are neglecting our chat. So Matt chimed in and said, so Lila, I'm so bad with names. So Lila, Layla. It's like I cannot pronounce anyone's names. So Layla G is so she's really big on YouTube and LinkedIn Learning. So if you guys do want to learn more about Excel visualizations, go check out her channel. Also, we got Think Mark Think saying bins are trash. Oh, I'm kind of curious. Oh, on Excel. So I was about to say, what is he talking about? Like, you mean bins?
I literally spent an entire day working on my master's thesis trying to like fix the bin sizes on one graphic in Excel. It's a nightmare. And I'm sure that Layla Garani and Oz de Soleil are, if they watch this at some point, they will be tearing their hair out and saying, it's super easy. All you have to do is Control ASDF. And hey, I'm sure there's a hotkey for it. I don't know what it is. And I know that the hotkey for that in Tableau is click on this thing, drop down, one click, you're done.
Okay, so chat, are you guys seeing this? So is the screen we're sharing blurry for some reason? It looks clear on my end. So I don't know if it's a unstable internet connection. Al, can you see it?
I mean, I've got my LinkedIn on my my handy Google Chromebook, and it looks clear to me.
So. Okay. But okay, getting back to specifically Oz du Soleil, he's been on the podcast before, and I think I'm going to ask him, reach out to him directly and see if he wants to do a guest lecture for my Greensboro College case studies in business analytics course next semester.
Yeah.
Which I think we're going to be doing live streams for half of those classes. So stay tuned for that, everybody who's in the chat right now. But one thing that I picked up, so you said sorting and cleaning up data, right? That's what you learned?
Yes.
Okay. So I did want to have like kind of an exercise so that those of you who are watching can see this in action. So Al, we've already gone through this exercise once, but it was a few weeks back with Marina from Amazon. Yeah. So in the Amazon sellers, so to give you context, this is the raw data file for our marketing analytics case study course. And what we have are three data sources. So we have our ad spend, which is all the cost data rolled into one data source. We have sales from our Facebook shop, and then we have sales from our Amazon shop. Actually, so the data quality issue is not in Amazon, it's in Facebook. So speaking about cleaning up data, I wanted to point out a data quality error within this data set. So you see right here, so I guess let me give you an overview. We've got our date tab, we've got ordered product sales, which is just what sales occurred, then units ordered, total ordered items, average sales per ordered item. So this is just describing what was bought here. But if you take a look at this first row here, we made a sale of $229.95. But when we toggle over to the next cell, we have 0 for units ordered. So and for those of you who are watching this, we did not prep this. I'm putting Al on the spot completely here. How would you solve this?
I mean, so that's not a sort and filter problem. That's a validation issue.
Okay.
I mean, sort and filter is just, and once again, what we said last time was, well, why do you have a transaction with 0 units sold? So what I would do is, go to sort and filter, and I would highlight the row 1.
Row 1?
Yep.
Right here?
Nope. The header.
Oh, the header. Okay.
Yep. And then go to data.
Data.
And then filter.
All right.
And then click that drop down to look at all your values.
Okay.
I would go, that's not going to tell you anything there. Although, all right, now I'm zooming in. Okay, so why do you have a 0 value there? I would uncheck all, look at those 0 values, and see what the problem is.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So why are those transactions on your spreadsheet? That's your validation. Now this is the point where you go ask your sales manager, hey, why do we have transactions with $0 on them?
All right. We're by the way, guys, we're totally making this up on the spot, but I'm going to role
If that
play
wasn't already painfully obvious.
as I am the sales manager. Like new person has entered the chat. All right. So my estimation on what's going on here is that someone signed up for a lead magnet. So an example of this is we just implemented this with our marketing agency for the learning platform, is that we are giving away a free resume template in exchange for you signing up and giving us your information. So we're building our email list. So the cost of that transaction is $0. But someone might come in, buy that essentially $0 item, and they had 89 sessions. So that means they clicked on 89 different. Well, that seems really high. That seems really high. Interesting. So that means that they signed up for it and they checked out 89 different pages, or maybe they came back a few times over a week. Okay, this is interesting. So this is something that we haven't. I mean, we're literally learning new things here.
We got Allison's asking if you can zoom in on the actual data portion there.
Okay.
You got a lot of dead space since you're the dead space police.
Okay. Let me see, Control Plus.
I think you just go to View Zoom.
Okay. I was trying to do it in the
hair. He'd be tearing his hair out right now because I'm mouse clicking you through it, and he's like,
Zoom.
"No, there's a hotkey for that."
Oh, okay, interesting.
Hey-o.
All right, so let's come back here, and we'll just select. So we got to do it again. All right, so we're gonna just filter the ones that have zeros.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to do it again. I would just say at this point it's a conversation like, what do you need these transactions for?
Okay.
What are you trying to do with the data set?
There we go.
There you go.
All right, we're learning on the fly here.
Yeah.
Zoom scroll. I don't know what that is, Matt. Actually, we should just pull Matt into the chat. Okay, so let's have the conversation about this now that people can clearly see it. So what we did was we filtered all the ordered product sales that are 0, which, in this use case, it's people just signing up for a lead magnet. So they're getting something. Really, the way that they're paying in this situation is giving the information and they're joining the email list. So that is giving value to the company, not in monetary, like not dollars and cents, but potential future leads. So what were you going to say, Al?
Well, I would say, you've got to figure out what you're trying to do with your data. Like what KPI are you looking for? And are those zeros going to throw it off? If you're looking for a sum of product sales, then zeros don't hurt you. If you're looking for an average of transactions, well, then those zeros might hurt you because you probably don't want to average zeros in to your paid transactions. And this is kind of one of the things actually this course points out is one of the benefits of a pivot table is you take data out of your main spreadsheet where presumably you want to keep that intact unless you find errors that you want to delete. But you want to take your data out of that for specific calculations. So let's say I want to know the average ordered product sale, and I want to only see a table with my paid transactions. I put that into a pivot table, glean out all of the other, separate the wheat from the chaff, take out all that other crap that I don't want, and just get something into a whole nother chart that then I have no capability to screw up my original data set, which of course is the weakness of spreadsheets versus databases anyway, is any idiot can go in there and just start fat fingering the thing, and then your spreadsheet data is screwed. So, great selling point for the pivot table is if I need something specific out of the main data set, pull the data that I need out of it, put it into a pivot chart on its own sheet. And then if I make a mistake, it's only a mistake on the pivot chart. It doesn't affect the original data.
Right. Okay. So we got Amina chiming in and asking, is a spreadsheet a proper tool for data analysis?
Yes, 100 times yes. Now, it may not be the proper tool for the data analysis procedure that you want to accomplish. There's plenty of videos, readings, and whatnot within this course. And if you really want to get into that, I would take, big plug here, Robin Hunt's data analysis courses on LinkedIn Learning. She is fantastic at explaining the difference and the proper uses of a spreadsheet vice a relational database.
Okay, so Matt's chimed in here and saying it is a tool, absolutely. And I think I'm reading that tone correctly. It is a
You're
tool.
a tool, Matt.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, we got a tool talking about tools here. Whether it is the best or the right tool for any given job depends. Also, too, to kind of pit this in the real world, Excel may be the only tool that your company provides, especially if you're working for a company that is in the middle or small size. They may not have, Power BI or Tableau because they probably can afford Power BI because I think Power BI is like $10 a month per users. So, but who knows? I mean, maybe your company is really, really bootstrapping and Excel's free. So yeah, I would say that it is.
Even a company like Google, they've got budget considerations, and their Tableau suite is available to certain people that need it. And it's not just not any Googler can go start playing around with Tableau on their paid cloud-based platform. You've got to justify it. So even mighty Google restricts access sometimes to these powerful programs. You got to go get yourself a public access and play with that.
Okay. All right. So we went on a happy little excursion into this whole, I feel like Bob Ross, where it's a little happy.
There are no mistakes, only happy accidents. Well, spoiler alert, if you love Bob Ross, the guy that, and his name escapes me right now, it's still the COVID brain fog. The guy that teaches lesson 6, the visualization class, he is basically the Bob Ross of Tableau.
Oh.
Yes.
He's nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you've got that to look forward to next Wednesday. Good Lord willing.
Wow. And you were really selling it. Tune in next Wednesday at noon, guys. All right. Awesome. Okay. So back to the task at hand. So the original thing that we wanted to solve is that we wanted to understand, okay, what about how much of these data quality errors are occurring?
Yeah. And so what I would say is you just explained that those zeros are not errors. There's a reason why that transaction's in there. So that's when you start getting into the logic part, or go talk to somebody, whoever put this data in here, and figure out where that came from and why it's there. And that's when you get into, is it an error? Is it an outlier? Is it a valid transaction that you need to account for? And then you get into, well, what do you need out of this data? And if you don't need those 0 transactions, I would pull the rest of the data into a separate sheet, a pivot chart, and start working with only the data lines that you need.
What's funny is that we went through this same exercise like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we went down a completely different rabbit hole. So there's 2 different data quality errors here. So we're talking about the zeros within order product sales. But what the original question was this data quality error right here. So there are product order sales, but there's no units ordered. So how can we investigate this using Excel?
So I would go straight over to the next column and units ordered. How many zeros do you have there?
Okay.
And just click your drop down. And really with these, what you're looking for bad data is blanks, nulls, NA values, anything like that. Anything that's just way out of whack, like If your transactions are, between $50 and $500, and you get one that says 50,000, obviously there's a decimal point missing or misplaced there. So that's your validation. When you go to units ordered 0, do those ordered product sales make sense? Why do you have non-zero values for those?
So what is this? Interpret this for me, Al. Do you think that this is a major issue?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a non-zero value for the dollars, and they apparently have not ordered anything, I'd say that's a big issue. Now, if you want to get
wait, hold on. We're gonna pause here because from my perspective, that's like, well, okay. If that is a very small portion, or like say that's 1% of the data set, that margin of error might be just something that we have to live with. I mean, it comes down to scarcity. Like, we're never going to have perfect data. It's not a crystal ball. So if it's 99% accurate, I think that is enough of an indication that, hey, okay, this data is good enough for us to drive our decisions. Because if you wait for perfect data, you're going to be waiting to make your business decisions for the rest of your life.
How many lines of data do you have?
Well, yeah, let's explore that. All right, so we can, pull this filter out, and then let's see. All right, so before we do that, so we got 4 data quality errors within this data set. So if you hit OK, let's see how many shifts or control shift down. Okay, so we have 91 data points or 91 rows. So 4 out of 92.
5% error. I would say that's worthy of consideration, especially when you're talking about, what, over $1,000 worth of transactions?
Here, actually, let's ask chat. What do you guys think? So having 4 out of 91 data points being an error, is that an issue in your perspective? Let's go back and let's total this up. So another way of looking at that is that we have, wait, why is the sum? This is weird. Why is the sum 1462? Interesting. All right, so let's say
we got that selection.
We got 2. Yeah. Why is it doing that?
Because it's 1462.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it was 14,000. All right, so 1462. So that is accurate. Let's remove this filter and then look at it from another way. So 1462 of control shift down of 1600. So, I mean, that's, I don't know what exact percentage that is off the top of my head, but what do you guys think? Is that a large enough percentage of overall sales for us to like really want to go in and investigate this, or not even use this data set? All right, so let's get back to the chat.
Yeah, it's 1,400 out of 16,000, so that's what, about 8%?
Because I know. All right, so Matt's chiming in. You shouldn't dismiss it because it could call the entire data set into question and could point to a deeper issue. Fair enough. Let's see. All right, so we got OK here. I can pronounce that. 4 records, not an issue. Abe's chiming in. Too small of a data set, but it depends. So this is another thing about scarcity. I mean, if this might be all the data, especially if you're working for a small organization, this might be all the data that you have.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you think about it this way, 1 out of every 20 people that do a transaction on your website are paying money for nothing, according to that data. I would say that's significant.
And that in a different way, they're paying money for nothing.
They have 0 units ordered, and you've got revenue from them.
Okay. So yeah, it's interesting because I was interpreting this as the data is wrong, but maybe the data is right, and we just didn't ship those orders.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Exactly. So that's
from that
why,
frame,
a 5% like extreme customer dissatisfaction rating, that to me speaks volumes.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
from
So you definitely would want to figure out why that's happening and not write it off.
Yeah, from a risk mitigation standpoint, for sure, if 5% of your sales are not even being delivered, yeah, that small but yet probably vocal minority might completely tank your brand.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this is fun. I like going down these like little rabbit holes. Okay, so we got Jonathan chiming in and saying it's almost 10%, so that's a lot. Fair point. And Moonzir, yes, we are recording this. So this is a live stream now, but it's going to be
It's forever on YouTube. Moonzir.
YouTube and LinkedIn now. So if you go to our
yeah,
LinkedIn,
but trying to find old stuff on LinkedIn is a nightmare.
Okay. So we got Amina coming in and saying, can we consider the one where we have 0 as outliers? What do you think, Al?
I mean, I would just go back to, hey, if you've got 0 units ordered and 0 product sales, sure. If any transaction where you've got apparently we've given no value and we've taken someone's money, I would consider that significant, especially at a rate of 5% of our transactions and 8 to 9% of our total revenue. Yeah, that's significant. So, and the thing is, they're like, how are they outliers? I mean, to have it be an outlier, you have to look at it and say, okay, this is a weird thing, but there's no explanation for it. There should be an explanation for this. You know,
okay,
it's a
so
significant
LinkedIn
enough percentage that you need to go figure out why it's happening.
Okay, so it looks like this LinkedIn user is just tuning in. So where is the 229.95 coming from? That's what we're trying to investigate here. We're trying to figure out, is this a data quality error where we did ship those orders and it should say units ordered should not be equal to 0, or did someone pay us and we just failed to deliver?
Yeah.
So
that's Allison Fisher. So Allison, if you're paying attention, and it seems like you are because you're asking questions, go look at your LinkedIn privacy settings, because that's why you show up as LinkedIn user on the screen. But anyway.
Oh, good. We're learning things. We're cultivating a learning environment.
Yeah.
Okay. This is fun, and we haven't done this yet, where it's just like off the cuff. Yep. Let's look at some raw data, and then we can kind of like, because this is what it's like when I'm working for a consulting engagement where I have data and this is nebulous. Like we don't quite know what's going on. We can come up with some theories, and Al, I think it's probably good for us to theorize on what may be going on before we talk to the end client or the manager or the person responsible for the data set.
Yep.
Okay, so OK is saying if no values can be outliers and need to be removed in that sense.
No, I disagree. And OK, here's what I'll say. And that's why I recommended, hey, if you're looking at your product sales and you want to average those out, or you want to do some calculations on that, take the non-zero values into a pivot table. But what John David just explained about the about the 0 values, and then they still get sessions. Well, what happens if I want to calculate the average number of sessions that people are using? Then those aren't 0 values. I mean, those lines 3 through 6 that have 0 sales, 0 units ordered, but they've still come up with about 400 sessions. That's significant. And that's something that if I'm talking about what people are using, if I'm looking at offer count, those are non-zero values. I need to figure out how that value's in. And then the dates as well. If I want to do some sort of time series analysis where I look at when people were actually using my site, when they were getting on and doing sessions, all of those non-zero values have significance. So that you can't remove records entirely from your data set.
Right. Well, okay. I'm going to push back on your pushback here. It's like a nested Russian, rusted Can't even say it. A Russian nested doll.
Matryoshka doll.
Yeah. So if people are coming to the website but not buying, should they be influencing our business strategy?
They should if you want to see how many sessions they're using.
Yeah, but they don't matter because they're
only
not.
want to consider people that pay money.
Yeah, because they're not our target. If they're not buying what we're selling, then why should their opinion matter?
But now you're making assumptions about what you want out of this data.
Yeah.
Do we not want to know how many sessions they use? Maybe that's a whole separate analysis. Hey, the people that come in and freeload, how many sessions do they use up? How much does that cost us? That's still valuable data.
Yeah.
There's still probably overhead associated with that.
So I guess the point is that it really depends on what is the specific question. So if we're looking at it from a perspective of, all right, we need to develop a buyer persona and we need to figure out where are the highest average orders coming from, what's the demographic, the zeros don't matter. But if we're looking at it from maybe a website usage, like, okay, we have, say this scales out 100 times and it's costing us a lot of money for sessions. All right, these people who aren't buying anything, we need to figure out a way to get them out of our website. So yeah, that's a really interesting nuanced point. All right, I feel bad.
That's why I say, like, if you find a line that has NA all the way across and all it has is a date, that's an error transaction. That's something that you can delete that safely from your database, I think, and remove the chance that someone will screw up using that. These are not error transactions. They're zeros for a reason. Now the zero may be erroneous. You need to figure that out. But there's data there. There's usable data depending on what questions you're asking. That means that those transactions, that 3 through 6, those lines cannot be discarded overall.
Gotcha. All right. We're neglecting our chat here. So Matt's saying, if this is real data, the first thing I do is track down one of those sales and see what it looks like. All right. So yeah, this data has been anonymized. This is actually like the structure of client data. So if I were interfacing with a client, I would be able to pull out, all right, here's the product order number. And then we could go in and specifically identify what went on in that situation. And that'll give you context of, all right, is this a 0 or is this just a null value that's been keyed in as a 0? All right, so just Google, not Google, I guess you could Google, or in YouTube search, look up how to get an analytics job. And our channel should probably be the first search result. Subscribe to our channel, like all our videos, watch our content, but we're doing live streams I think we're doing at least one a week, typically 2. All right. So Austin is chiming in. Or what if it's a case of return products? That's probably what it is, actually. For instance, the customer has paid for the product but isn't pleased with it and wants it returned. Yeah, that could be what's going on. This is fun. I like that how we can just kind of come up with an idea. If that's
the case, your data is even more useful because how many sessions do people use that return data? My question would be that's the date they ordered it. Where's the date that they returned it? How long did they sit there and play with it before they say this is crap and send it back? That would generate more questions for me.
Well, what we could do, if that is the case, is create a new column that says if column B equals or if column B's value is greater than 0 and column C is equal to 0, then returned, and then we can isolate all of the return values, and that's a calculation right there. So that's like a new data point that we're kind of creatively we're improvising and creating there. So all right, this is fun. Okay, let's see what does Amina saying? Does a row represent a day? Maybe we have a $0 day when it's a holiday or a special day in the year. So good question. This is an individual transaction. So this product was bought because you can see that it's a little deceptive, this data source, because we have that $230 sale, and it looks like it's going, but then you can see it comes back to January. So there might be multiple sales per day. All right. I think we've milked this pretty much dry. I don't think that there's anything else for us to. This was cool though.
Yeah.
I haven't done this. I mean, we're just making this stuff up on the spot, but
Yep.
we're basically crowdsourcing ideas. Like everyone's chiming in and saying, well, what if it's a return? Fantastic point. All right. So let's get back to the course. We went on a total side tangent, but let us know in the chat if you guys like this kind of content, because it's completely unscripted and we're just kind of creatively problem solving right now. But all right, back to your scheduled broadcast.
Okay, so week 2, they start getting into formatting data. And I made the mistake of watching Matt's review this morning before I came on camera here. So I've got his kind of bitches, gripes, and complaints about these sections kind of fresh in my head. But so week 2 is super valuable, because if you've done projects where you have to take data from one format to another, whether it's from a CSV file or what are the other ones, YAML and all these weird things, and you have to pull them in and put them into either a database or a spreadsheet, they don't come in clean. They come in with, what's up, Team Squirrel? Gotta say hi to Iris. They don't come in clean. They come in with leading and trailing spaces. And the big thing that they're highlighting here is they're going to come in formatted as something else. So my other giant gripe with Excel, God, Excel, why can you not figure out what is a date and what is not? And why do you convert my dates into hieroglyphics and exponential functions and strings of whatever? And no. So anyway, so those are my 2 biggest gripes with Excel is come on with the visualizations and the formatting, especially formatting dates. But you will see when you start pulling things into SQL, it's very important, and Tableau as well. It's just got that handy little point and click, and it's got the little hashtag for the digits. It's got ABC for a letter string. It's got the little globe for geographic stuff. That's why, love Tableau. Everything about it's intuitive. But when bringing data from one source to another, you are always going to have formatting issues. So in this section, they get into kind of how to deal with that on every platform. So they get into concatenate, how to split with those functions, how to combine with those functions. And that's when you start getting these practice quiz. Here's the one here. I'll show you this practice quiz right here. Okay. So here we're using concat and concatenate functions in a spreadsheet to try and split and combine strings and different kinds of data. Okay. So you've got columns that say George and Washington. And I apologize if you can't see this. John David, can you make the shared screen bigger? There we go. Okay, hope that helps, guys. If not, just kind of follow along what I'm saying. So you got first name, last name, George Washington. Well, you want to simplify your data and make it into one string that is just George Washington. And you don't want to go and fat finger each of these things, Control-C, Control-V, 25, 30 times in order to do that. So you have this handy function, concatenate, which is there in some form in Sheets, which is what they show you right here, in Excel, and also in SQL. And they get through all 3 of those. That can do that in an automated fashion. One other thing about Sheets, super handy with the kind of copy and fill function. It's very intuitive. It anticipates, unless you turn it off, it will anticipate, but it will never do it automatically. I mean, it will always ask you, hey, do you want to fill all of these columns like this? Do you want to have it one string like that? Do you want to have it with a space? There's various different ways to do that. The syntax is different in Sheets. In Sheets, in Excel, and in SQL. So, and then you get down here and it says, hey, if you did all this right up top as you were following along on your separate screen, separate computer, what's the answer to this multiple choice question? And then, hey, talk about it. What are some other kinds of data you could combine using concat or concatenate? What happens if you try to work with dates or names? So another little check on knowledge, but you're just writing in here. Now, if you want to be, almost said a bad word, if you want to be a clown and put ellipses in there or hi or, just happy to be there, it's just going to take your answer as a submission. I swear that this is my submission, submit it, and it'll give you credit for the crap that you put in that right there. I will tell you again, all of these writing exercises have value. Some have more than others. There are a couple that are a little goofy. For the sake of time, I won't get into that. But yeah, there were definitely a few in this lesson where I was like, really? Come on. The meet and greet one is, they sometimes for something to do, they'll just ask you like, hey, write about what you think is going to be in this course. What value does that have? Like all I've seen is the title. I know it's about SQL and spreadsheets, but what value does it have me kind of conjecturing about, is conjecturing a word? Never mind. Guessing about what's going to come up in this course. Okay. So some of them, it's just kind of a busy work exercise. I will tell you that from the get-go. Okay. They get into combining multiple data sets. And this is where you're taking one thing from one data set. You got the George over here, you got the Washington over here, and you're going to combine them together using SQL because that's what it's for. And then this one here is, this is an okay section. This kind of gets you into some external assets. One thing that I did think was cool here, and I don't remember which one. I don't remember what it is, but at one point when they're talking about Excel, they give you a bunch of external assets that are all Microsoft cheat sheets, and they're on the Microsoft website. So I thought that, for me, that was kind of neat. And I know they get more into that in Tableau, that Google was like, hey, we're gonna show you Google Sheets because it's a good tool. We're also going to teach you Excel because we know that's the most accessible for most people. And we're going to link to our direct rival's website so that you can learn how to better use Excel. Something about that struck me as pretty cool. I'm an economist, so I'm all about survival of the fittest. But yeah, sometimes Google's pretty cool in that they're quite collaborative, and they're all about, hey, what's best for our customer taking this course may not be the best for advocating for the Google Sheets community of practice. So
I'm chiming in to advocate for the. You've left that question set for like 5 minutes. So how do you take notes for this?
So when it comes to notes, I am super old school. So this is what I'm reading from right here. I love yellow letter size notepads. I like kind of some heavy stock, and I love my mechanical pencils. So this one is a Pentel. I'm kind of picky about what mechanical pencils I use. I don't like taking notes in pen. And I don't like taking notes on tablets or typing them. I'm just kind of an old fuddy-duddy when it comes to that stuff. But yeah, for this, I just take notes constantly as I'm going through each video, kind of quick impression, if there's some bullet points or something to copy down. But yeah, that's I go old school, man. I've got 3-ring binders all over the place. I won't dig them out and bore you, but yeah, I like having a physical archive of the things that I've done. It just, to me, it's kind of pleasing to look at and see that, I can prove to myself that I've done work. So hope that answers your question. Anybody else before we go to week 3? Oh yeah, the date fill in Excel is can be funny. I love having Iris here. Shyam, my pleasure, man. Yeah, I'm always going to keep it old school. You can only teach an old dog so many new tricks. So I'm getting there with the sequel. I'm learning to love it, and I'll get there with I'm studying R too. So I'll learn some stuff. But yeah, note taking, old school. Also, if you can, I don't know if I've got it in the picture. Yeah, I don't know if I've shown you guys my wall of whiteboard. That is a key asset. I love being able to write everything in massive and then just sit there and look at it. So I'm a big note guy. Many of my old teachers are rolling their grave to hear that said. So okay, so week 3, and once again we're going to get into a Matt Bratton bugaboo here. So I won't belabor week 3 a ton. And by that I mean I won't get into a ton of detail. I'll give you kind of a broad overview, and I'll just urge you to kind of look into it and then look for your own assets. So week 3 is a ton of good information. The first segment is all about VLOOKUP. Now, I just made Matt, Layla, and Oz all angry. Just to address the VLOOKUP monster. VLOOKUP is available on almost every, or really on every version of Excel. VLOOKUP is kind of an outdated function. There are better ways out there now to do what VLOOKUP does. However, if you don't have the most updated version of Excel, VLOOKUP may be your best option. I apologize. I am not as familiar as I was like when I was wrestling with these idiot things during my master's thesis. The difference between VLOOKUP, index match, and XLOOKUP. Layla and Oz have tons of videos explaining that very thing, and they will be happy if you jump in on one of their live chats to explain it to you. However, VLOOKUP is accessible to everyone. It's very simple to learn, and it addresses the vast majority of the problems where you have a column of data and you need to match it to something somewhere else on another sheet, in another spreadsheet. And so it is, you'll see that the next segment right here is on SQL joins, because VLOOKUP is in many ways quite similar to what's accomplished by SQL joins. It takes 2 different sets of data and matches the matching data from column A to column B from separate spreadsheet that matches up. Okay, very similar to what is essentially a left join in SQL. But SQL takes 2 different databases and joins them together with only the data that you want. And VLOOKUP will just create you a new column next to your kind of base column with the matching functions.
Hey, can you answer this question? So can you give a very specific example?
Okay, so each of your transactions, let's say each of your transactions has a transaction number, and you have one sheet that has nothing but finance information. All right, so your sheet A has transaction number as the kind of the index, and then date of transaction, amount of money, et cetera, et cetera. You have another sheet for kind of PII purposes that has the account name or the username or the login ID of each of your customers. So that one has transactions and then the login ID. If you want to combine to where you say, hey, I want to know how much each of my customers, how much money they've spent. So you have to match your customer, and you have to do a VLOOKUP to find the amount of the transactions that they used and total those up. You would use a VLOOKUP to go from, customer Albert Bellamy matches with this transaction on this other sheet that does not contain names, match the transaction that he used with the amount of money. Customer Albert Bellamy spent $229.50, whatever it was. And then you can kind of, go from there. You can use your sum and aggregate functions to play with your data. But hopefully I don't have something where I can immediately do an on-screen demonstration, but maybe we can set that up for next time. But VLOOKUP, it stands for vertical lookup. And so it takes an index piece of data and goes into another data array, finds that index piece of data and matches it directly across with whatever is, 2 columns to the right, 3 columns to the right, 4 columns to the right, whatever. But you have to pick your column and it will look vertically to find your index piece of data and then the matching piece of data from directly to the right on that array. XLOOKUP can go multiple different directions, left, right, up, down. So it's more useful. It's also more complicated, and it's also not available on older versions of Excel. And Matt or whoever else is listening that's big XLOOKUP people, please correct me where I'm wrong. I've not had a ton of time working with it. But I think that Google included VLOOKUP here because they knew, once again, the reason they're teaching you Excel, it's accessible. It's what everybody has. And it's the simplest one to understand. So hopefully that's index match. You can do some different things like offset it and sort of move around. So index match, you can kind of reverse engineer some of the things, as I understand, that you can do with XLOOKUP. It's just a bit more complicated. But again, index match is available on older versions of Excel. So if you want more, absolutely, there are tons of videos on YouTube to tell you how to use VLOOKUP. Or you can go to Oz and Layla and they can tell you how to use XLOOKUP and all sorts of space age stuff. So moving on to this, into this next section, and this is a part where I will advocate. I personally struggled with SQL joins, and I have many thoughts that I will share at another time. They don't really apply here. I find that a lot of ways that people teach SQL joins are inefficient and unclear. And it's people that know SQL joins and they're kind of accepted. I mean, and I'm talking about the Venn diagrams. I have a lot of thoughts just based on a guy that likes logic and likes clear and concise ways of explaining things. I think Venn diagrams are crap for explaining SQL joins, but that is, if we get on that rabbit hole, I'll talk for an hour. However, this is a very short section on SQL joins, and SQL joins are a difficult concept to master. Anyone that's good at SQL will tell you that this is some tough stuff to swallow. They don't spend a ton of time on it. You've got enough here to understand what a join does and to get through a couple of left joins, which are the kind of the simplest ones to understand and also the most used and most useful. But it will not get you into anything advanced. It will not get you a ton of reps. Again, I urge you to go through the examples in the videos, but they kind of spend some time talking about other, aliasing your SQL joins. But then, yeah, absolutely spend some time on this. They will give you some external assets. I recommend, I think it's L3. I recommend LeetCode, StrataScratch if you want to pay a little bit of money. But yeah, if you want to get good at SQL, you've got to master joins. You've got to master the more complex ones like self joins and cross joins and inner joins. And left is the easiest one. It's the most useful one. But if you want to get nerdy with SQL and really master it, got to get nerdy with the joins. And then another very difficult concept for me to understand that they touch on very lightly here is subqueries. You can do a ton in SQL with subqueries, and you can spend a lot of time learning subqueries because it's a difficult concept to master. You can see right here, you got 3 videos, a reading, and a practice quiz. You are not going to become very good at subqueries with this section. You're gonna understand what they are, kind of where they go, and you're going to do 1 or 2, and that's it. If you want to get good at SQL, got to go find subqueries somewhere else because it is a tough concept to master. And then you got your weekly challenge, and that's week 3. So it's actually time-wise, it's a little short. I would say that, yeah, all 3 of these topics they're dense topics, and you could spend a whole lot of time learning just these 3 topics. There are whole courses on Udemy, on LinkedIn Learning, just about how to join stuff in SQL, just about how to use VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP, index match, all of the kind of matching and joining functions in Excel and in spreadsheets. So yeah, spend some time on week 3. Do not skimp on this one. And I would say that this is one that is ripe for external assets. And I can, if you hit me up offline, I can put you onto some more things that I've used to try and help learn these. All right, got any questions on 3 before we get to the beast of the course, week 4? Hey, if Venn diagrams work for you on learning SQL joins, awesome. My biggest beef with them is Venn diagrams show overlap. They do not show change. When you do a SQL join, stuff changes. And when you overlap circle A, circle B, and you say it's this colored area, you're talking about stuff that was in circle A and circle B, and it gives you the false impression that that left join did not change anything. Negative. Everything in that join is now changed. The record is completely different. You've taken data out, you've added data together, so that A-B overlap is a fraction of what a join does. Okay. So hey, think, Mark, think. If it worked for you, awesome. I know I kind of gave Oz de Soleil some crap on a live chat one time, and he was like, "Hey, Venn diagrams are the shit." Okay. I have a project on deck where I am going to write out why Venn diagrams are woefully inadequate for teaching SQL joins, and why they're misleading and why they confused me for a long time. So, hey, again, whatever works for you, it works for you. If you learned how to do joins well with Venn diagrams, props. I have found quite a large group of people that feel as I do, and Robin Hunt's one of them, yeah, Venn diagrams just don't quite cut the mustard with that. And in fact, they can really screw you up. So, take it with a grain of salt. Didn't work for me, worked for Mark. Who knows? All right, we ready for week 4, or we got anything else? All right, let's do it. Plowing on. So looking at week 4, there are, don't be fooled by the weekly challenge, course challenge. Those are just the tests. So there are 4 sections in week 4, and they are robust. So get started with data calculations. Again, this is a dense subject that has whole classes devoted to it elsewhere. And they're going to get you with your kind of play along functions and whatnot. They're going to get you probably about 2 hours worth of content right here. This is where they're talking about doing functions, and see they have a lot of checks on learning here in the videos. This is where they talk through functions and calculations in spreadsheets. Right here, this reading right here is very valuable. SUMIF, SUMIFs, COUNTIF, CONIFs, those multiple conditional functions are super duper valuable if you're working with spreadsheets. And if you can master those and your lookup functions, I mean, you are getting kind of into ninja status. All right, I'll give you one more hands-on activity here. Then they're going to go through and play with it. So what I tell you, if you play along with the video, you do the reading, you look at the external assets that they give you for further learning, and then you go in and you do these hands-on activities. You're going to be doing pretty well. I'm not sure why they call some of them practice quizzes and some of them just hands-on activities. That seems a bit weird to me. Okay, pivot, pivot, pivot. And props to you if you get the joke. I was not a big fan of the show Friends, but I do remember that episode. I didn't think Friends was funny. Sorry. Pivot tables. Everybody knows pivot tables are where it's at. They have so many uses. They can clarify data. They can keep you from screwing up your data, as we've talked about before. They can make it easier to do visualizations, even in Excel. Yeah, pivot tables are fantastic. And look at what you get here. You get 5 segments. Again, it's probably about 2 hours worth of work if you do it all, and you should do it all. This reading right here is very good, and it's one of those ones where, I like hard copies. I'm going to print this off and kind of probably laminate it or put it in sheet protectors because it's just super useful. And once again, gives you all of these links are links to external assets, to format, to filter, sort, perform calculations, all of that good stuff within a pivot table. So you can get some good basic skills here. I would urge you to go find external assets to take your pivot table skills to the next level. Right here, again, SQL calculations, man, oh man, you can go for a long time learning this stuff. So going into how to do calculations with SQL, this is going to take you to the next level, and this is going to get you to the point where your skills with relational databases can replace a lot of the things that you may be doing right now inefficiently with spreadsheets. And especially if you have to deal with databases, to try and take that stuff, square peg into a round hole, mash it into a spreadsheet so that you know how to use it is inefficient. Much more efficient, especially if you're dealing with tons and tons of data, to do that stuff in SQL and combine that stuff together, figure out how to use your joins to get just the stuff you want, and then it's going to be like magic for you. So embedding simple calculations, again, this is just giving you the bare basics. And then you're going to do a hands-on activity. Urge you once again, all of these videos can be hands-on activities, and they should be. They're going to pull you back into BigQuery. The other thing I will tell you is by the end of this lesson, you are going to be awesome at opening BigQuery, creating databases, putting sheets together, all of the kind of get started and get data and put it where you need it. You're going to be great at that in BigQuery. I totally did this discussion. Don't pay no attention to the fact that that's grayed out. I don't know why I couldn't get that fixed. Okay, data validation process. This is building on some stuff that was touched on earlier. Types of data validation. Again, this is a kind of print off and refer to later. Here, we'll try this again. I got it right, but we'll try it again. So anyway, you're pulling in CSV files, you're cleaning data in BigQuery. Or sorry, this is in spreadsheets, but transitions into BigQuery. And then you're going through multiple steps in SQL. And this is starting to get into almost intermediate stuff in SQL. Select from group by, order by, multiple criteria for both the group and the order. And then you're exporting that to a spreadsheet. So you're putting it back into a format that somebody else can play with it if they're not a relational database guru like you. And then here's another concept that I've found quite difficult. Temporary tables. I believe they touch on common table expressions here as well. These are intermediate concepts in SQL that are difficult to master. And again, you're going to get an hour or two here to play with them. I would go elsewhere and get some other SQL assets to build upon these skills. One course that I love that worked very well for me, it's a Udemy course, and it's Jose Portilla's 0 to Hero SQL course. Awesome. And he will go into a fair bit more depth. It's still kind of a basic course, but he goes into a lot more depth with these more complex topics. So, and then you are down to your week 4 weekly challenge, which as I recall was surprisingly easy. And then your course challenge, where the course challenges, they tend to take you back through some calculations and actually doing some work in order to get the answers. So, and that's it. That is lesson number 5. Who's got questions?
Okay.
Allison's got recommendations for courses. Awesome. Love to see it.
So Austin asks, does this course teach Power Query?
No.
Okay.
And once again, because Power Query is a recent, I don't remember which version of Excel, but I think that was new for the most recent version of Excel, which not everybody has. And so they tried really hard to make this as accessible as possible. BigQuery is a pretty new asset. I don't know when they came out with that platform, but it's very new, but it's cloud-based. And so unless you work somewhere that has like ridiculously stringent filters, like, I don't know, the Marine Corps, you should be able to get on the Google Cloud, even at work, and use BigQuery. You don't have to buy anything. It's open source. It's still on the cloud. You can upload data sets and stuff like that. So good stuff.
All right. So Gina asks, are they teaching stored procedures?
No, it's not really mentioned in there.
Okay.
I'm not super familiar with them, but I do remember, touching on them in some of my classes. And no, it's not in here. That's so much more intermediate to advanced level skill.
Awesome. Well, so this live stream is coming to a close, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to just close out the podcast with the promotional video for the marketing analytics course. So the data that we analyzed earlier on, I just want to give you context of where that data came from. It came from last semester. I taught at Greensboro College the analytics minor capstone course. And that's where I took my Silvertone Analytics consulting clientele and partnered them up with 2 student groups. And I'm really just repeating what I'm going to say in the promo video. But me and Al are going to be signing off, and let me cue up that video. And thanks everybody for tuning in. This was a unique podcast stream. We went down some interesting, like, improvisational rabbit holes within Excel.
I like the discussion we got in with the viewers. If you want this shirt, you got to go to TMB Analytics, hit up Matt Bratton. I don't know if he's got a website where you can buy them, but got a lot of good comments on the shirt. I love this thing. This was I'd like to call it a collaboration between me and Matt, but really it was just like, hey, I'd love to see a T-shirt that said this, and next thing I know, I had one in the mail. So really it was just Matt saying, dare accepted, and firing it off. So yeah, love that. If people have questions, please hit me up offline. I'm talking all the time about this course, and I get hit up every day. Do you recommend it? Do you think I should do it? Is it worth the money? So yeah, happy to talk about that with anybody in the How to Get an Analytics Job circle, in my circle, in your circle, whatever.
Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. Well, thank you, Al, and thank you everyone who tuned in on the chat. The link for this course, if you are interested in taking it, will be in the description down below. And we're signing off. So I'll see you guys.
See you guys.
Are you looking for real data to analyze? An actual problem to solve? An experience worth talking about in an interview? Well, in this case study course, you get a real-world problem with a messy data set and a business outcome that's on the line. My name is John David, and I'm the founder of Silvertone Analytics, a boutique consulting agency that focuses on business analytics. I'm also a professor of analytics at Greensboro College. And in 2021, I had the privilege of combining these two worlds. My real-world Greensboro College students got to work with my Silvertone Analytics clientele for the Analytics Minor Capstone course at Greensboro College. This case study course is modeled after the lessons, the trials, and the tribulations that my students went through in the Analytics Minor Capstone course. My students got to work directly with the president of an organization that is clearing over $150 million in revenue every year. And this case study course keeps the exact same data structures that they worked through in that case study. But I anonymized the data to protect my client's privacy. So are you ready to solve a real-world business use case? Build a killer analytics portfolio, and even learn how to communicate these findings in an interview setting? Well, click the Take This Course button now and join me inside.